Hello and welcome to the Buffalo Broadcasters Association Job and Internship Fair. Thanks to everyone for joining us today. I'm Anne Marie Franchik. I am a BBA board member and I'll be your moderator. Like everything else this year, the BBA had to take its biannual in-person job fair and go virtual. So we're meeting in cyberspace with a terrific panel of experts who in a few minutes will address how the industry is faring, and what the job or internship search is like during times like these. So let's meet our panelists. We have with us today Kim DeGeorge, Digital Director, WGRZ TV Channel 2. Channel 2 is an NBC affiliate owned by Tegna Incorporated. We have Paulette Peterson, who is Assistant to the General Manager at Crawford Media Group. Crawford owns and operates 22 radio stations, including in 10 markets, including WDCX in Buffalo. Joining us as well is Lauren Lewis. Lauren is a partner in StaffBuffalo, a certified woman-owned full-service professional staffing firm serving the Buffalo region. Lauren has appeared in many broadcasts on WKBW, ESPN 1520, and currently hosts a show called New York at Work, shown on WBBZ. Also joining us is Lisa Welling, Human Resources Director for Buffalo Toronto Public Media, serving Buffalo and Southern Ontario on WNED TV and WBFO FM radio. She has 30 years in human resources and currently is a leader in recruitment, compensation, and evaluation for the two stations. And rounding out the panel is Dave Gillen, Program Director for WEBR 1440. We are fortunate that you will be offering your insights and advice today. So let's get in. And Lauren, I'd like to start with you. How has COVID-19 affected those looking for work, particularly looking
So I think I cut off a little bit from hearing what Anne-Marie was asking, but I think her question was, how has COVID-19 affected those looking for work, particularly those looking for their first job? And this year has been one like no other in the job market. And it really is shaking things up, for a lack of a better term, and making people have to, be more creative in their job search. One of the things I definitely recommend people to do is use what's at your fingertips, which is, the cyberspace that we're all on today. Use networks online. LinkedIn has been a great resource for a lot of candidates to kind of look for their next job virtually. If you are looking online on different job boards with different companies, you might find some great opportunities that you're interested in. You can always take your job search a step further by using LinkedIn and using the virtual world at our hand. So if you're using LinkedIn to identify a job you're interested in or a company you're interested in, use LinkedIn to help research that company, help research who is at that company. And it's a great way to network and connect with people at a company you're interested in or an industry that you're working in. And don't be afraid to maybe step out of your comfort zone and reach out to someone you might not know at that company or in the industry to pick their brain a little bit about what it's like and let them know that you're interested in a job there. It really helps you kind of get your foot in the door by taking those steps and being creative. Also, especially in the communications and broadcast world, think outside of the box more. Create your own content. Use social media and other resources to help display your content and display what you know, so that you can start building your own brand online and virtually. And I think that will help take your next step into finding your first job a lot further. And it's very helpful to do those types of things. But yeah, it's definitely been an interesting year, and need to be creative to help find that job and look for the first job. There are a lot of companies doing virtual job fairs as well, and those are great opportunities to get in front of other people and connect with companies and professionals in the industry you're looking to get into.
Can't hear you, Steve.
Sorry, everybody. My name's Steve Monaco with the Buffalo Broadcasters Association. We're having a few technical difficulties, just like everything else that we've noticed with COVID. If we could jump in, I'm going to go to Paulette for our next question. What is the typical first job in the radio station, and what are the top skills needed for that first job in the industry?
I think typically here it's usually for like a part-time board operator position. Might not be the most glamorous position. It's usually, like I said, part-time. Weekends, evenings, not the best of hours, but it really gets your foot in the door here. Usually, like, you just have to, follow what's going on the air, especially on our station. We have a lot of programming that might be live. You have to really think on your feet. You have to be responsible. A lot of time independently, you might be here by yourself when it's just music or programming going out over the air. But you know what? It also leads to other jobs here. Like, for instance, our general manager started as a board operator. Our afternoon talk show host started as a board operator here at the station. So there is definitely opportunity for growth and for promotion here at the station when you start out there.
All right, thank you so much for that. Now, I want to get with Dave Gillen. Dave, you're with WEBR. What do you think are the best steps to get started in the industry?
I think anything you can do to just get in the door. An internship certainly is a good thing to try to do. A lot of companies have paid internships, some don't. But if you want to do something, bad enough, I think just to get your foot in the door, that's the best way to go. I mean, you'll get a better education and learn more when you're working in a facility as opposed to what anybody could teach you in the classroom. And I think if you can get some hands-on experience, that's probably the best step that you could take to trying to fulfill your career opportunities.
All right, very good. Let's see. Anne-Marie, are you back with us? Oh, no. We keep trying. All right. And Lisa, can you address the degree necessary for a job in the media? Is a bachelor's degree in journalism or media production necessary, or could a degree in another unrelated discipline be of value?
Well, I mean, I would say that if you're going into journalism, a bachelor's degree is really important for you to have, because journalism is extremely competitive, particularly in radio. So we do look for bachelor's degrees, sometimes also master's. That can put someone ahead of someone else. If you're looking at production, because we also have the production side of the house, not necessarily, I think it's nice to have, but I think the internships, if you have some experience, even if they're not affiliated with a college degree, if you do some of your own filmmaking work or content on the side, like Lauren mentioned earlier, that's really helpful. And I think digital media is really where it's at. So if someone's going for a degree and they're more interested in the production side of things, digital media would be the place to spend your time.
Okay, and staying with you on this one, some stations are hiring digital-only positions. What responsibilities do these people have? Would it be a good starting position for someone interested in the news, or do you see that trend continuing?
Well, I mean, I think if you're going into the news, if you're going into journalism, I think you definitely need to have a dual degree. So you definitely need to have the journalism side, but also some digital media, whether that's in a minor or what have you, because you have to have that eye for journalism to be successful in news. If it's production, it would be entry-level production assistants. I think you still need to have some technical aspects. You have to understand how machinery and the cameras work. Digital is important. Understanding the new and emerging platforms is important, but I think you also need to understand the fundamentals of how film and TV and how things look on camera. You have to understand how that is as well. So fundamentals are important.
Okay. And now, Lauren, this question is about preparing for that job interview. how important is it that I learn some things about the city ahead of time? And what would you suggest I read, research about before the meeting with the potential employers?
Preparation is definitely key for any interview you go on, no matter what it's for, where it is. You have to make sure you do your research. So if you're going to a new city and researching for a position in a certain city, you might want to reach out to a chamber of commerce in that area. You know, in Buffalo, we have Visit Buffalo Niagara, Amherst Chamber of Commerce, Kenton Chamber of Commerce. Invest Buffalo Niagara is a great asset to our community. So reaching out to those types of organizations can help you get a feel for what's happening in the area or the region that you're going to be interviewing in. Also, make sure you're interviewing the company that you are interviewing with. Research and read their website. Find as much information on them and maybe like recent news articles. Follow them on social media, see what's happening at the organization. Try and learn more about the culture as well, because that's super important. Remember, like when you're interviewing for a job, you want to make sure that you are interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you, because you want to make sure it's a good fit for your next step in your career. So do as much research as you can on all aspects of the area, the region, the company itself, their social media, people that are involved in the company. If, like I mentioned earlier, if you can find someone on LinkedIn that is currently at that company, you reach out to them to connect and pick their brain about the company. That's super helpful as well. And also in preparing for an interview, make sure you practice interviewing, especially where now a lot of companies doing phone interviews and then virtual interviews using Zoom or Microsoft Teams, WebEx. Make sure you practice interviewing. That's going to make you feel much more confident and comfortable going into the interview, especially if you are doing a virtual interview. You want to make sure you treat it like an in-person interview. Dress professionally, make sure you're on time and early, and definitely practice with the technology beforehand to make sure that you have your access to your camera, to the microphone, so that once you get into an interview, that's one less stress to worry about, and you can feel confident and comfortable going to the interview and can be yourself and not worried about the technology.
Great. And I really welcome Rob from WKBW. It's good to see you on here. So Rob, let me ask you, please address what job applicants need to know about their social media. And are the future employers looking at that, and what would they be looking for exactly?
You know, I think what we're constantly have to remind ourselves, even as news managers, you know, at least from WKBW, we're not a television station. TV is something we do. Broadcast is part of what we do, but you know, we're so deeply embedded in other platforms, whether it's our digital platforms, social, OTT, our streaming channels, and broadcast. So with that in mind, obviously social media is a really important part of the way we can present content and information to our audience. So we do pay attention because it's a great tool. It's a really impactful tool. It's a very effective tool to engage our audience. But also you need to really be mindful of what you post. And I'm sure it's very similar to the other people represented here. I mean, my company, EW Scripts, has a fairly robust social media policy and guidelines in terms of, you know, we're an independent journalism company. We are very focused on independent journalism. And so the idea of what you say and how you present information is critical, you know, because you're expected to be an independent journalist. So that's that challenging area of wanting to express yourself on social media, but at the same time being mindful of bias, trying to stay as true as you can to multiple points of view and independent journalism. Now, as far as the positive side, you know, and what we're looking for, you know, there are all kinds of really great platforms now. You know, obviously there's the standby of Facebook and Twitter. You know, now there's TikTok. There's a couple, you know, we've been kind of paying attention to, there's a guy at the Washington Post who's doing some interesting things on TikTok. You know, I'm know if we often think of TikTok as, you know, a great journalism platform, but it can be. Twitter, we're starting to have more of our journalists do long form style presentations as they're publishing, you know, their tweets. Sometimes it's just a series of tweets with multiple layers of content. So the way you're using the platforms is really interesting to us. And so when we see somebody who has a knack or is really kind of pushing the limits in terms of how to really engage an audience, you know, on some type of social media, we really pay attention to that as well. We think that's really cool because it's always evolving.
Great, thanks, Rob. So Paulette, here we go. You've seen many resumes and resume tapes. Do any stand out, and why was that? And what are you looking for, you know, when you're looking at these resume tapes?
Sure. I think, you know, when we receive a resume here, you know, it's not always about, you know, the school you go to or, you know, the grades that you get, although, you know, that's important. Your grades are important because it shows us that you're hardworking and that you're passionate about what you want to go into. But I think, you know, what we try to look at is obviously, does the major that you're studying align with what we're looking for here? I think that also, you know, we look for things that are outside of, you know, your schooling, like your extracurricular things, like your internships, the recommendations from those people who you've interned with, maybe running the soundboard like at your church or, you know, just, or, you know, at a local theater, or, you know, we look for things like that to see if that's your passion. Because I think that a lot of the times here when we hire, the technical things of a job we can teach here. You know, experience is great. Don't get me wrong. I think it is great. But like I said, the technical aspects of certain things that we can teach here. But I think that, you know, passion goes a long way as to what you really want to do and what you love to do.
Great. Now, Dave, you've been in this business for many, many years. What are you looking for when you're looking to make the hire?
Depends on who we're looking for. You know, whether we're looking for somebody in sales or somebody, you know, on the air or a production person or whatever. So, you know, every one of those areas we're looking for a different skill set. And, you know, it's not necessarily, you know, how much education you have or how good your grades were. I mean, a lot of what we do depends on personality. I mean, if you're going to be on the air, it doesn't matter if you can speak really well and, you know, you didn't have a great, grade average. You know, if you can present yourself well, that's more important to me than what your grades were. You know, in sales, if you can't speak to somebody and you can't talk to somebody, you know, and know how to ask mindful questions and those kinds of things, then you're probably not going to be real successful in the sales arena. You know, and then, you know, the technical background and everything, you know, and somebody else, I think Paulette said that, you know, we can teach somebody pretty much anything we need to teach somebody about our radio or our television stations. But, you know, you need to have some kind of basic background. And I think, you know, what's more important than anything is the drive and the desire to be successful and to be good at what it is that you want to do. I think that's probably the most important thing to anybody who's trying to hire an employee.
Exactly. So Lisa, when I'm learning about a position at a company, what questions should I be asking beyond how much the salary is? And for example, like 401k, benefits, things of that nature.
Well, I think, you know, when you're applying for a position, salary obviously is top of mind, but I do think benefits packages are important to understand. I know younger generation, fresh out of college, they may not necessarily be looking for health insurance. What are you providing me as an employer? But certainly, you know, what is the paid time off? Is there flex time? What are the hours of the position? But more importantly, what is the corporate culture? Does it align with my values? What am I looking for? I think Lauren again touched on it earlier. When you're interviewing for a job, it's not just you interviewing for the job, but you're also determining, is this organization for me? Do they align with what's my priorities in my life? And so really asking those culture questions. What are the values? I'm in not-for-profit. I know some of the folks on here are commercial. Everybody has their own alignments and what they're looking for, and also growth opportunities. There's not a lot of opportunities sometimes to grow up the ladder when you're younger and starting out, but there's other ways to do that. It doesn't have to be up. It can be, horizontal and building your skill set to find that opportunity for the next position. So is there opportunity for growth, and what are the professional development opportunities would be great questions.
Fantastic. And I hope all the students at home are writing all this down. So Rob, I got one for you. COVID-19 closed down most all newsrooms, which discontinued internships. What should the students do to compensate for not being able to finish or even be able to get an internship at this point?
Sure. What's so awesome now is most people, if they want, have a lot of great tools, their smartphone. For example, there are times when we've done live shots, with a smartphone through a TVU app or a LiveView app. So you've got all this great technology for creating content. And a lot of people, especially young people, are very fluent on a variety of different editing softwares. A lot of young people, students especially, have good basic experience, using CMS, publishing content, on social media or on a website. So you can create a pretty phenomenal reel or a pretty remarkable content if you're going for a digital position, at home, in your own studio office, or as you're out covering stories on your own. So, use those tools that you have. Obviously, there's plenty of examples, that you can model, in news media. But I would say surprise us. One thing we've learned in fairly recent research is that most people in the audience, at least news consumers, in general, and in this kind of a general sense, that a lot of times I think the general sense is that a lot of TV stations look pretty much the same in a lot of ways, and I get that. There's a lot of similarities in our setup. So whenever somebody, especially a young person or an application, doesn't have to be a young person, somebody is applying for a job, and they actually surprise us. They kind of take, what might be kind of a traditional way of doing things, and they change it up a little bit. They surprise us. We notice that because that tells us this person, has a creative eye and is willing to take a risk. The audience is so splintered right now. So if you're really going to be meaningful, you've got to be, number one, you've got to be, I think, a fantastic writer. You've got to be a good, a great writer, good at editing, good at shooting. But I think you've got to be willing to stand out. And if you can stand out in a meaningful way, then you're really going to spark our attention. And you don't have to do this in a newsroom. You don't have to do this in an internship. You have all the tools to do that at your home.
Thanks, Rob. All right, Lauren, I got one for you here. Could you address the range of salary for recent college graduates in the media? How fast can someone expect to get promoted? And what does it take for someone to get promoted?
So salary range, I think sometimes there's a lot of recent college grads who come in and don't want to put in, and no offense to anyone out there who's going to be a recent college grad, but I think there are people out there, and I have family and friends who are in similar situations. They don't want to put in the time, the effort, the work to achieve their career goals, and prove to an organization, that they are an asset to the organization. They are an asset to advancing the organization as a whole, contributing to the organization, and in turn, they're going to be advancing their career. I think when you start off in any career, no matter what industry it is, you have to be open to, a lower salary level. I know a lot of entry level grads in a variety of industries are anywhere from like $35,000 to $45,000 entry level salaries. You can't expect to be making like, high double figure or 5-figure salary or 6-figure salary like early on in your career. You have to really put in the effort and show that you are committed to the organization. Pitch in to help out whenever you can. If there is a project that maybe they need extra hands on deck, like do that, offer, volunteer to help. You're only going to learn and grow in your career the more you contribute. Talking to other people in your organization, talk to them about their career path, what they did over the course of their career to get them to a point where they are, maybe they're a higher level. Having those conversations and be open about what you want out of your career, and you will set yourself up to go very far. I always tell candidates, like, you are in charge of your own career. So the more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Try something that maybe feels uncomfortable, because that's where you're going to grow and develop personally and professionally. And that will, again, only help you as you move along your career path. So, it's kind of a general question or answer to the questions, but, I think opportunity is out there. Opportunity is endless, but you have to be willing to, put in the work in order to advance your career. And then, the more you do, the more opportunity you have to make throughout your career as well from a salary standpoint.
Fantastic. Now, we got Jonathan, who had sent in a question online. What is the training process like for new hires, for example? How long is it, and what is taught? Also, do your companies assist with finding housing for newly hired people? And let's go to Paulette on this one.
All right, I guess it depends for the training process for new hires, obviously it depends on the position. But, we don't hire people thinking they're going to know how to do everything. So we do, when you start here, we will, train you fully. As far as, I don't know if I missed another part of the question, but as far as like the housing goes, we don't typically help you find something. I mean, we can, we don't typically do that, but it's not out of the question for us to help you try to find something around here.
All right. Kim, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I would love to. For us, I work on the digital side. So when we have a new hire come in, we're going over an onboarding process where we, introduce them to the programs that we use. We go over with them and show them how to update the websites, our digital platforms. The trainings, it depends on the person. If you're a quick learner, your training could last a couple of days. If you need a little bit more time, it could take a week or longer. We're not going to leave you alone until we are confident that you can do that process on your own with very little assistance. We have a very supportive staff, and we make sure that everybody is available to assist anybody, because we want you to ask questions. We want to make sure that you are ready and feel comfortable, to be set free in the newsroom. And as for housing, to answer that question, we don't typically find housing. That's usually, we might tell you, here's some neighborhoods that you might like, but that's pretty much about it on our end.
Fantastic. Well, it is hard. I'm sorry?
Can I chime in real quick just to add on that?
Absolutely.
I think those are really great interview questions to ask. So when you are in the process of interviewing at a company, don't be afraid to ask those types of questions. Ask them what their training program is like. Ask them, if there is someone who's maybe a recent new hire at the organization that you can talk to find out more about, what it's been like for them across, their experience. Also, from a housing standpoint, I know a lot of companies just don't do that as much anymore with help find housing, but you can always ask, like, hey, what are the great neighborhoods around here to live in? Where do young professionals live? Can I chat with another person about, what the neighborhoods are like. So the more questions you ask throughout your interview process, the more set up you will be to get the answers that you want to help you make that decision of if this is going to be a good move for you.
Fantastic. Well, I want to say thank you to all of our panelists. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk with the students a little bit more about the broadcast industry. To all the students, what we're doing now, all of the panelists will be receiving all of the resumes that you have turned in and reaching out to you individually. We want to thank again all of our panelists for coming in, and we hope to see everybody at the Buffalo Broadcasters Association's second Conversation with series with Jeff Galore, which is being hosted by Jackie Walker. This is coming Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. So again, thank you to everybody. Thank you to the students and the panelists, and we hope that everybody has a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.